Whew, phew. Soon as I pressed the go live button, everything froze on me. Sorry about that, peeps. Welcome, good evening. It's 6:30 here. An evening webinar for a change. I may start doing this on a Monday because Monday morning typically there is not a great deal going on. Today's a bit of an exception, so I may start doing the webinars on a Monday evening. First of all, just give me a yes, people, if you can all hear me okay and can see the screen okay as well. Just give me a yes in the chat box if you will, and I will bring over the Forex Factory calendar. Yep, okay. So, no news out tonight. There is a little bit of New Zealand news out at 11:45. Not something I would really pay attention to. Going into tomorrow, we do have a little bit of news out at 9:30, and we do have some dollar news out there at 1:30 as well. So there may be a little bit of movement as a result of that news tomorrow, but we will run through that again in tomorrow's webinar. So let's have a look at a few currency pairs. In fact, just before I get stuck into them, I didn't think today would be a busy day, but it has been. I've only been in one trade earlier and I'm in a couple now. But what I did last week, if you remember, I decided not to be in any pound trades for the second half of last week. I wanted to let the market settle down. And on Friday, there was a few people in the chat. I know Peter was in there. And I posted a few trade ideas in there, which were on the pound. Both of them came off. We had a trend continuation for 40 pips, I think it was, and a flag pattern for... I can't remember. I know there was 100 pips there, and also on the pound yen, that move lower that we had turned out to be a triangle, and there was an opportunity to get short there as well. So 3 winners in a row, typical. Friday afternoon, I didn't post them as trade ideas, and I didn't enter them. I wanted to wait to see what happened with the pound, and it looks as though we may be seeing some changes now with really just the market starting to even itself out a little bit. So we've had a few trades today as well. I posted a few in the chat, ones that a couple we didn't quite get the entry on, and they went on to win. So I'm hoping then that we're going to see some winners this week and get myself out of this drawdown. A lot of you know that we're still in the dollar yen, the big triangle. We've had the break lower now, and I am expecting that to go on to hit targets. That would be a lovely winner for 130, 140-ish pips. But let's go and take a look at a few currency pairs. The Aussie dollar CAD, I did talk about this in the quick hit review video, and I've been waiting all day. All day to get involved with this trade. It is a head and shoulders, and we'll go ahead here and do the higher time frame analysis. Now, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please chuck them in the chat. There is around a 10 to 15 second delay though, so it may take me a few seconds just to receive your question and for me to answer it. Other than that, the Aussie dollar CAD, we're looking bearish here. Now, I've only got 3 years worth of candles loaded, but you can see price has clearly been making its way lower, a pullback, and we're making our way lower now. Let's go and take a look at the 240 time frame. So I'm expecting price to come down to this level, and what we can do is I'll actually draw it out here on the 240. So from our most recent swing, which is up here, we had a move lower. Then we had this triangle, a breakout pattern. Then we moved lower. Now, I actually, when I did the quick hit review video last night, I actually did this a little bit wrong. See this wick just here? Well, we did not, that wick, we did not violate it just here. So what that actually means is this was the outside return just here. We saw a pullback, and then as we came higher, we did actually violate this level just here. But then what we did is we came into these wicks just up here. I'm going to position this correctly, just like that. So from the closes of the candles to the wicks, and you can see we had this double top, and if we do drop down to the 60, you'll be able to see the head and shoulders, which I've been monitoring all day. So head and shoulders, they're a pattern, and so we typically have a swing in the market like this and an impulse, and I do like it when we have a very directional pole like that. We saw a pullback, we saw a move higher, a pullback, a move higher, and then at this point here we violated the outside return. So I was waiting for a pullback up into the wicks or into this entire outside return here, and I was looking for a lower low, lower close. Well, what happened is we came into the wicks and it didn't provide an entry. The only entry was here, which was this lower low, lower close candle. Now what that would have meant, because there's no double top or head and shoulders here, I would have needed my stop right above this level here. So it would have provided me this amount of risk. Instead, if I could have got a rotation pattern within the wicks here, and I will drop down to the 15 to show you this, we never got any form of double top. In fact, what I do recall now, I was looking at a potential flag pattern, just like this. But you can see the flag got invalidated. Those of you that have been through the educational material on the website will know that we never got a structure hold here, and we never got a red candle, and instead we violated. And what actually happened is this was the turning point. We then turned and rallied down from that point. Unfortunately, the entry was invalid. So almost an opportunity to get involved, but it didn't happen. Now, what we don't want to do is say, well, we've missed our optimum entry. We no longer want to be looking for short opportunities, because based on the higher time frame, we're still looking at price coming down to this level just here. Now on the 15, if we read the trend, we had a move higher, we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, and then we've pulled up to this point. And I'm going to put a structure level on at the highs just here. So guys, just tell me what we've done just here. So if this here was the outside return, if we're looking at trend, this is the entire outside return. What have we done just here where the arrow is pointing? Just tell me, do we have a structure hold or do we have a violation? Tell me which one we have, guys. Structure hold or a violation? Welcome, Utter Group. I don't think you've been in this webinar before. Welcome. Vinco, a violation, exactly. So that means here on the 15, I can, excuse me, I cannot any longer look for trend continuation. So what that means is I have to go back out to the 60, and here on the 60, we start to see a clearer picture. Now here on the 60, we had this move lower, a pullback, a move lower, and now we're seeing a pullback. So the outside return now on the 60 is this entire area. And as you know, there are 3 levels to trend continuation. We have the wicks, which is this small level down here. We have the candle bodies, which is just here. And then we have the last chance opportunity, which is just here, giving us 3 zones to get involved with a trend continuation opportunity. Evening, Stuart. Just saying we're doing an evening one. I may do it full time on a Monday, because Monday morning there's typically not a great deal going on. So maybe the webinars are better Monday evening when we've seen a little bit of movement. So there's 3 areas here where we can get involved. The first one was looking for a rotation pattern in the wicks, which did not happen. So we have to remove the first chance entry. So I'm now going to be waiting for a move higher, and type in this fine by you, Stuart. No problem. Let me know, guys, what type of entry we're going to be looking for within the second chance entry. We know the first chance entry is a rotation. We know the second chance entry is a rotation. What is going to be the entry for the second chance entry? Sarah, lower low, lower close. Exactly. So if price comes up into this level, we're going to wait for a lower low, lower close, and we can either play for first targets for a retest of the lows, or just hold it to play for a complete retest of this lower level. I'll have to analyze it again, but I will very likely just hold it for a complete retest. When I saw this last night and this morning, I was rubbing my hands together thinking we're going to get a lovely retracement here. This is a fantastic setup for a head and shoulders. There was 100 pips on the table and we just never retraced deep enough. Let's just go and take a look back at the 15 though, to see would this provide us any additional confirmation where we could see the market turn around. And we could. I don't think it's going to be a flag, but we could see a flag pattern that comes up into this zone. That would be good because it would allow us to get relatively tight stops above it. The second thing we can do is look for an AB equals CD pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, move it up, and that will bring us to this zone right here. And if you look left, we do have some resistance right at the completion of that AB equals CD pattern. Is there anything looking left? It's very minor. A very minor amount of structure there. Stuart as well. Yep, everybody lower low, lower close. Exactly. And so this can give us an area where we can start looking for an entry. We can throw on some fibs from our swing high to swing low. There's a 618 a little bit lower than that. Let's put another fib on, maybe from our swing high here to our swing low. And right at that zone, right at the completion of that AB equals CD pattern, we do have a 382 fib. So this is certainly an area that I'd be looking for. If this is based off the 60-minute, then for me, I would like to see the 60 come up and retest the 382, complete the AB equals CD pattern. I'll then drop down to the 15-minute and look for that lower low, lower close candle just here. If this gets blown out the water, then I'll simply be looking for the lower low, lower close based on the 60-minute. Vinco says on the 60 potential ABCD retest of lows. Exactly. Yep. Good eye. Good eye, Vinco. So even though we've missed we didn't miss our optimum entry, it just never provided a retracement deep enough. I'm just hoping this doesn't happen in the night. I know Sarah, it doesn't make a difference to her because she'll be awake at that time. I will be fast asleep. So head and shoulders there, very nice looking one. We will wait and see if we get an entry. If we do, there is still around 60 pips up for grabs. Stuart says, good news, I finished 10 years worth of back testing on the euro dollar on Saturday. Only took 4 months. Eesh. Wow. And I hope it was profitable at the end of the 4 months. Stuart, you're testing trend continuation, aren't you? Was it profitable? Let us know. Let us know. Is there any questions on the Aussie dollar CAD? Stuart, counter trend. Okay, you're testing counter trend on it. So double tops, double bottoms, were you testing head and shoulders as well? We'll just move the Aussie dollar CAD out of the way and I'll start looking at the next currency pair. I need to put all the data into the other spreadsheet. I got you. I got you. So you've done the work, but you're too tired to finish it off. 4 months is a long time. At least you're thorough. At least you're thorough. Right. Let's take a look at the Euro Aussie. Head and shoulders. Head and shoulders. Okay, so on the daily time frame, we may not get our entry on this trade. We will have to wait and see. So I'm going to put a structure level in at the close of the candles just here, you can see we had a great big spike. This spike was, I think, 200 pips, 216 pips, instantly followed by a big lower low, lower close candle. And then what we failed to do was see any continuation of that. Now a concern for me is that we have come into the structure level just here. And I bet I've not got enough data loaded. Let me just zoom out. Nope, give me a second. I'm just going to load a little bit more data on here. We need 10 years worth of data, I think it was. Stuart says double tops, double bottoms with divergence. There you go. There you go, 10 years worth of testing. The only downside is when you test one strategy is that when you get more competent and you find other strategies that you want to implement with more strategies, and you have to go back and redo it again. So like I had to, you'll very likely end up having to go back and retest the same 10 years worth of data but different strategies. Mine took me forever. Okay, so right here we had this major area just here. You see we came up, we tapped it, we rejected off it a major level. Now I measured this out earlier. This is actually a structure hold. We have held structure here, and technically until we violate the highs here, we do not have a break above, close above. We do not have a new high. Utter Group says he's shortlisted the Euro Aussie and the Euro New Zealand. Yep, Euro New Zealand as well. We can take a look at that. And so if we drop down the time frames, we go to the 240, we have what looks to be a very nice head and shoulders here. So we had the move higher, the pullback, the move higher. Then what we did is we came lower, and right here we violated this level of structure. So this is the outside return, and this gave us an initial structure low. Now the problem here for me is, hope I don't make this too complicated, is that if you just go back to the dailies, here on the dailies, this is a structure hold. On the 240, this is not a structure hold. In actual fact, this is a violation. So this is a violation up here, and so technically you may only want to be looking for long opportunities. However, we do have the makings of a head and shoulders here, and it has given us an initial structure low, telling us that we could see a rotation here. And this was the outside return. So this is the area where you would have looked for a lower low, lower close within the second chance entry, or within the last chance entry, which is the wicks. This is where you maybe want to be conservative and look for a double top here, because the 4 hour has broken above that structure level, even though the dailies has held, and a double top up here, a confirmed double top, or even a head and shoulders would be a nice level to get involved with tight stops just here, playing for a big AB equals CD pattern. Now there'd be about 70 pips of risk for about 400 pips of reward here. And if we just look at the last 4 hourly candle, right here we have put in a structure hold, an inverted hammer basically. So an indication here that we're just seeing a little bit of resistance at the left shoulder. Make sure I get that right. Okay, we want it on the closes of the candles to the high of the wicks. That means then when we drop one time frame lower, if we have a valid double top or head and shoulders within that zone, it'll be valid. Heath, nice, live at a different time. Yep, just saying, Heath, if you've only just joined, I might start doing it on a Monday in the evening. I'd love to do two webinars a day, one in the morning, one in the evening. Maybe as the site grows and we get more people on board and we get somebody as well that's competent and maybe wants to start doing webinars as well, maybe we can take it alternate. But I would love to do 2 webinars a day. It's a lot because I have to do the signals, and there's only me here really, so it's just a lot of work. So a nice double top here would have been lovely. So first of all, did we have the RSI confirmation? I need it to be overbought at above 80. It was not. and we do not have the makings here of a double top because of this big wick right here. Because of that, it means there's no gap between the first test, which is here, and the second test, which is here, and so this is not going to be a valid double top for me. So it's not looking like this is going to provide the entry I want for the head and shoulders, but let's drop down an additional time frame and take a look at the 15. We'll see if there's a head and shoulders here and the lower time frame. Okay, just let me reload this. So here on the 15, this is what I was looking at. Initially was this, and we'd failed to come up for the retest. If you look just here, and this was not a valid double top either. So I just have no entry up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the 240 and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to see if this candle here, if we can pull down and we can get a lower low, lower close entry within this zone, and this will be a second chance entry, and it will mean that I would need my stop and ATR above the left shoulder. Now what I do like about this is happening at the 16600 psychological number. And so this will give us a nicer structure area. We may see a hold here, and we may see that lower low, lower close. So it may look something like this. An ATR above this level is 57 pips. That's 70, around 73. It's a big old trade. This, something like that. If we can get the lower low, lower close. Again, it's a little bit more aggressive because we have held on the dailies, but on the 240 we don't, but we do have the initial structure low giving us additional confirmation, and if we can get a hold here at this 16600, a lower low, lower close, it'll give us something like a 3 or 4 to 1 reward to risk. So that's the Euro Aussie. Any questions on that one, guys? And again, if you do have any currency pairs you'd like me to take a look at, just let me know. I'm quite happy to take a look at them. Let's go and take a look, see what else is noteworthy. It's worth taking a look at. Euro New Zealand. Let's take a look at that. I still have the drawings out from the last webinar. And you can see that we were looking at a potential flag pattern here which was not valid. So let's just delete this information off and go out to the daily time frame. I'm going to put a structure level on at the close of the candles, and I'm just going to zoom out and look left. Okay, so what did we do? We had a move lower. Okay, I tell you what I'll do is, this was the most recent structure level here. We clearly broke above it. Then what we did is we saw a single red candle come lower, and now we started to move higher. So just based on the movement here, it's looking like we could come up to this zone up here, and we do have an advanced pattern up there, X to A to B, B to C, CD completion, and I think this is a Gartley from memory. It's not going to be a pattern I'm going to enter, but I'm pretty sure this is a Gartley, so the completion is going to be, well, look at that, the completion is right there at the 786. You'd have to check the data, but I believe we've already completed this. However, if you're waiting for a more conservative entry, you could look for maybe something like, well, that AB equals CD pattern comes in at the 786. A more conservative entry would be up here within the wicks. Just simply look for a rotation pattern. This is going to be a good few days away though. Bigger picture though is it's looking like we're going to be going higher. So we had a move higher, a pullback, a move higher, a pullback, a move higher, a pullback. We only just pull back into the wicks just here, as you can see, and now we're making our way higher. I would actually like to see here a violation above this level, a pullback, and then a chance to get involved and get long. Just going to take a look at the 60. Other than that, there really isn't too much for me on the Euro New Zealand. I'm just simply going to wait to see if this provides an opportunity tomorrow, but I am going to be looking for a violation above this level. Any questions on the Euro New Zealand? It's going to be one for tomorrow for me on that one. Aussie dollar. Yeah, we can take a look at that one as well. Do you have anything that you're looking at in particular on that currency pair? I think this is one where, yeah, I'm going to have to load some more data. Oh no, I'm not. Right, okay. So I was actually looking for a long opportunity here. So if we put a structure level in just here at this major support level, and it's major because look at the major reaction we saw on the dailies. And what we've done here is we have held that structure level with a beautiful pin bar, followed by a higher high, higher close candle. And you can see now we've pulled back into the structure zone. So I'd only be looking for long opportunities here. Now, I wouldn't be looking for a very big move, because if you're reading what price is doing, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, I would only be looking for a small pullback here, because price is indicating that at some point we are going to violate the downside. But right now we've held support, we've got a big wick, we've got the RSI confirmation where we went massively oversold at about 12, we put in a higher high, higher close, and we could look as a minimum for targets in the wicks. And if I just zoom in, guys, what have we not done here? If you look at the high of this candle, what have we not done? Support. We've not come in to retest the lows of this structure level. And typically that's what happens, you know, trends or just simple movements, we typically come back and retest the outside return at some point. And we haven't done that, so that means to me that there is still room for the market to go higher here. So it says how many pips to the nearest wick. Are you talking about this gap? Well, only 9 pips. Wow, I thought that would have been a lot more considering we're on the dailies. I thought that would have been 20 or 30. Is that what you're talking about, Stuart, that gap? I must admit I thought that would have been a lot more. Yeah, 9 pips. So that's pretty close actually, guys. This actually then may or may not, depending what your rules are, change whether or not you want to look for buying opportunities or wait to see if we violate this lower structure level. Yeah, just only 9 pips and we're on the dailies. So let's finish off the underwriting on this one anyway. Here on the 240. There wasn't a great deal here for me on the 240. You can see we've had a violation to the downside, and then we've violated to the upside. So this structure level just here, we violated to the upside, and now we're pulling down again to the downside. Stuart says, I would have thought more with it being on the daily. To be honest, I did, until you mentioned it, because I was looking for long opportunities. Yeah, so it may now not be an opportunity. Sometimes when we come close and we're moving very directionally, and just if you just look here on the 240, you can see how directional we've been here. And when we get directional movement, we get shallow pullbacks. Directional movement, shallow pullbacks. And sometimes when it's that directional, we just fail to come and retest the upper level. If it's close, then I won't take the trade. But if it's a good few pips, if we fall short by a good few pips, something like that, then I can look at getting involved. But with that only being 9 pips, that's going to change. It's going to change my bias, that one. So here on the 240, if you are still looking long, I would look for conservative entries just here within the wicks. See this little test down here, and we can drop down to the 60 and see if it provides a double bottom. 1 second guys, let me just go back and make sure I've got this measured out correctly. From the close of the candles to the low of the wicks. Then we're allowed to drop 1 time frame lower and look for a valid double bottom. Now guys, this looks like a valid, well, it looks like a double bottom here. Does everybody agree this looks like a double bottom? It has the RSI confirmation, we went oversold, it has divergence. Can anybody tell me the problem with this opportunity? Let me reposition this. Okay, so we've got our highlighted area here, which was the wicks, and this was the area where we want to look for a rotation pattern. Vinco's got it. We've had a break below, close below. So even though this looks like a double bottom, we've got the RSI confirmation, this is going to be invalid. My trading is based on structure, and that means that I must have structure adhered to. And right here we clearly violated. So this is not going to be a valid opportunity for me. Let's just reposition this and zoom out a little. You have this little wick here. That may, it's not going to be for me, but if you highlight this wick, that may be valid for you. I would certainly wait as a minimum for a 2618 here. So you're going to wait for a violation to the upside, a pullback into a 61.8 fib, and then you're going to be looking for a long opportunity. Let me just go back to the 240. But yeah, this isn't going to be an opportunity for me. If you are monitoring this, what you could also do is wait and see how you've had this indecision candle here. See if this candle that's forming right now gives you a higher high, higher close, gives you a little bit more confirmation. But for me now, there is not going to be a great deal on the Aussie dollar, so I'm going to move that one out of the way, and we will take a look at, by the way, who was in the chat on Friday? I know that there wasn't too many people. Did anybody take the trades that I posted in there? There was 2 trades I posted in the chat, that one for 100 pips and one I didn't post, but that was on the pound yen. That one, there was about 150 pips. I don't know if anybody took any of those trades. Just give me a yes if you did. But let's go and take a look then at the Euro New Zealand. Sorry, the Euro dollar. Euro dollar. Okay, Euro dollar is a tricky one. I don't really have much of a read on this now. I think I'm just going to simply wait to see what happens. What we had here is we had a move lower. We had this low and tight flag. We broke to the downside, and then we saw a pullback. Now, down here then we do have a confirmed break below, close below, and a pullback into structure. And those of you that have been following me for a while, I do say the middle of these patterns are great areas to look for an entry and a chance to get short. And we was actually long last week on this, and it violated structure, so we managed to get out for 11 pips. We'll look at that shortly, but if we look at what's happening now, look at all these big wicks up here. This was before the big wicks occurred, by the way, when we got long. And so we have bigger wicks to the upside than we do to the downside, but we do not have a candle that has confirmed a break below, close below, or a new high. So right now this is just sideways movement for me. So let's go and take a look at the 240. And this is a difficult one because we've got a beautiful swing in the market just here. We've got a nice rally, and with that rally we violated this outside return. So we have violated structure here to the upside, and you can make the case, and it was looking like this when I got involved, it was looking like this, but what we then did was we then violated structure to the downside, and just here as well we did actually violate to the downside. So I was able to get out just for a small loss of 11 pips. Now I'm not too sure which way this is going to break, whether it's going to go bullish or bearish. I'm simply going to wait to see what happens here, but you can see consolidation. If we now draw out this lower level based on the closes of the candles, we actually have 4 tests down here. Well, actually it's going to be 3 because that's not going to be valid. Actually it's going to be 2 because that's not going to be valid. So there isn't a great deal here for me. This isn't even a high and tight flag. There's just nothing here. But I do think we're going to break out one way or the other. Let's look at the 60-minute. Does anybody have anything on this, by the way? On the 60, there's no real trend here. This is just consolidation. This entire area, we're just waiting for this to break out. Let's take a look at the 15. Yeah, Stuart, it could be a fake break. We violated twice to the downside now. So for me, it's not going to be a valid opportunity anymore. So yeah, I don't really have any direction on this, on the euro dollar. Let me just catch up with the chat. Stuart, he took the dollar yen. Was there news? Okay. Potential flag on the 5-minute. Martin says okay, we'll take a look at that in a moment. I did post within the chat as well this harmonic move this morning, and I was saying that we're going to be looking for a rotation pattern within this zone. And what was happening just here, we had this move up, this pullback, and I said we could see a head and shoulders, but once again we've now violated structure. This was the structure level and we've closed above it, so the harmonic move for me was invalid. Let's go and take a look at the 5. So on the 5, Martin's looking at a flag. I think you're looking at a low and tight flag, Martin, from the look of it. Don't know if it's going to be valid just yet. So you're going to need 4 touches. The first touch comes at the end of the pole, so that's 1. Your second touch is going to be there. Your third touch is there, and you're going to be waiting for your 4th touch just here. Now we have just violated this level of structure just here, so you do have a confirmed initial structure low, so a potential rotation. The problem for me is I see what you're looking at, and if we go up for the 4th touch, it's going to be valid. I only take them when we're in trend, or we're moving very directionally, or just violated a major level of structure, and that's just due to the psychology of low and tight flags. We see a big bearish move just like we've seen there, and then we see sideways movements as we gather momentum and we break out again. And so we tend to only see these when, again, we're moving very directionally or in a trend, and we're not in either of those. In actual fact, it's just junk that we're in at the moment. So it does look as though we could break to the downside there, but it's not going to be an opportunity for me. But if it is for you, you can look for your targets based on the 127. But again, you do have to wait for the 4th touch, and if you do get that 4th touch up here, well, it's going to be very small, 10 pips. The lowest profit I can take is 10 pips, and that's pretty much only on the euro dollar. If it's any other currency pair, it has a higher spread, and so I can't take it. So it's an opportunity there if we come up for the 4th touch. Anything else on the euro dollar? I'm really just going to wait for the breakout of this consolidation area. If you are looking short though, guys, if you are looking short, then we are up at this upper level just here. And you could be looking for that entry reason to get short. You can see we've had a rejection candle here, a lower, lower, lower close. If you're aggressive, may offer you an entry and a chance to get short. But nothing for me on the euro dollar though, so I'm just gonna move that one out of the way. Martin says his data looks different. Could do, different brokers. Not all data is the same. There's no central banks, so every broker works out their data slightly differently. So for me, we may have a structure hold or something else. For you, you may have a valid flag, but for me it's not valid. So what I would say is just go off your data, because it's that data that you would have used for your back testing. So go ahead and use that. Let's go and take a look at the euro Aussie, which I've now been stopped out of for break even. Typical. This is just how my trading has gone for the last few weeks. Just to let you guys know, I posted this as a trade idea. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd come into the area that I thought we would. I got involved right here. Targets were that 127 extension. And as you can see, we only came down to the 113. And I've been stopped out for break even. Typical, 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 typical. So delete that information off and let's go and look at the higher time frame on the pound Aussie. Is anybody in a trade on the pound Aussie? I know, who was it that was in the pound Aussie long? Jamie. I don't know if Jamie's in the room, but Jamie was long the pound Aussie. I think he said he was up 180 pips, I think it was. So well done to Jamie. And guys, my memory is terrible. This AB equals CD pattern, which we stalked for about 2 weeks. We looked at this, didn't we? We looked within the wicks. And just 1 second. Yeah, okay. We missed this, guys. This is, yeah, we missed this. Okay, so we were looking at this big AB equals CD pattern and we were waiting for targets to be hit at the 382. Okay, and you can see as a result of the news last week, we saw a massive rally and we saw that 382 get hit. Yeah, this was one of the 400 or 500 pip trades. And we were looking for an entry down here. We were looking for a rotation pattern, guys, if you remember. And we dropped down to the 240. And we were looking at this zone just here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The problem was it was 150 pips of risk. It was over my maximum. And what we then did was rally up, and then as a result of the news we violated to the downside. Now guys, I completely put it out of my mind at that point, and I think everyone else did as well. But what we should have done, and I failed to pick up on this, was that when we looked at the dailies, can anybody tell me what we actually did if we were looking at this in real time? What did we do here, guys? Can anybody tell me what we did? A structure hold. Yeah, structure hold, and it was also a what? Now I'm just wondering whether or not this was over our max risk. Okay, the ATR. Is that right? The ATR is 172. Right, okay. It would have had to have been there. Okay. Vinco, okay, I'm just looking at the chat. double bottom with divergence, stops an ATR below the first test, which was 131, 180 pips. We may not have missed this, it may still have been too big, but there we go, it came off. Even if we'd got involved with the double bottom based on the dailies, it was still 180 pips of risk, and it rallied to hit targets. What a real shame, because last 3 weeks, as you guys know, I keep going on how tough it's been. I've had 7 trades now that have just stopped me out by 1 or 2 pips, and that's a total of 550 pips. And this opportunity went on to win. Very simple strategy as per the educational material. AB equals CD pattern. We had fib confluence, we had the RSI, it came into structure. It just never, it was a bit too big, wasn't it? It was a bit too big, and it never gave us a smaller entry down in this zone. And then it rallied and hit targets. A 400 or 500 pip winning trade. Anyway, I hate going over trades that won, which we were stalking for weeks, but it's always good to go back over them, I guess, and just see the outcome of them. I don't have too much here then on the pound Aussie, guys. We had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, and then boom, as a result of the news, we had this great big high just here. We came back down to this point, and we are now working our way higher. Just 1 second, guys. I'm going to put a structure level on right at the very low of that structure level. Okay, we did not hold structure, so even though this looks like a head and shoulders, for me it's not going to be. This is not going to be a head and shoulders for me. Vinco says, when you have lots of pips, I lower the size. That's one way of doing it. I don't do that, but I think it can be a good idea. The only reason I don't do that is because if I end up getting involved, say on that daily time frame trade, if the trade drags out to say a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm stuck in that trade with a small position. And there are times when one currency pair can just provide 3 or 4 winners in a row, and the majority of times it can end up costing me more pips. So that's the reason I don't personally do it, but I think it's a good idea. If you want to go ahead and do that, you do that. If you did, you put on half of your position, you technically risked there 90 pips for about 250. Very nice reward to risk, and it's a very simple strategy. ABCD pattern with a rotation pattern in there. So there isn't a great deal here for me now. Go to the 60, you can see that we've had this retest down here, 1, 2, 3, and now we've seen a big move higher. So what else do we have? Okay, if I put a structure level on just at the very high here, you can see we have actually violated to the upside. Now I checked this and we violated by a few pips, but then we turned around and put in a lower low, lower close. So there's not going to be an opportunity to short the market here for me because we didn't technically hold structure. If we go to the 15, nothing here for me. We go to the 5. On the 5, nope. And the 5 range, which is what I went through first of all. You watch this thing now rally down and hit targets, my flag pattern. Anyway, any questions on the pound Aussie, guys? Any questions? We'll go ahead, we'll do a few more currency pairs. If you do have anything you want me to take a look at, let me know. If not, we'll just call these next few the last ones. Okay, pound dollar. Yeah, let's do the pound dollar next. There is still a short on here. I believe there is room to the downside. Load a little bit more data. So would some of you guys prefer to see some of these webinars done in the evening about the same time, 6:30ish? Maybe when you get home from work, depending what part of the country you're in, obviously. Maybe first thing of the morning for you. Sarah, it's a great time. We're missing you in the chat, Sarah, that's for sure. But I understand your reasons. So this is the very structure low down here, and this is the lowest point where price came to, where we closed. Vinco, perfect. It's easy like Sunday morning, yeah. Don't make me sing, I'm a terrible singer. Terrible singer. So pound dollar, I do believe there's a little bit of room to the downside here. So a move lower, a pull back, 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 a move lower. So guys, if there is room to the downside, and I do believe there is, we have not as yet either come down to test the 2000 psychological number. Yeah, Stuart, that they're probably emojis crying. I do not have a good singing voice. So there's a high probability here of that number drawing price down to this level. So as we drop down the time frame, say to the 240, we can look for a simple trend continuation opportunity. So we can look for price to come into our outside return. So we had the first chance entry, which was here. You can see we have now closed above that, and so there is no longer a first chance entry. That means there could be a second chance entry within this zone, and we're going to simply be looking for a lower low, lower close, or we may even get a last chance entry up in that zone. Now what tends to happen is if this is the major structure level here and we're heading down towards it, as we approach it we start to run out of steam and we start to see deeper retracements. And so what that means is with those deeper retracements we tend to have a higher probability of coming into the last chance area. So we could see that happen in this instance. Let's drop down to the 60, see if there's anything on that. Said it's easier for you too. I may start doing some in the evening. Again, it's just the time. It really needs to be more than one person doing the webinars. But I think certainly on a Monday. And what I might start doing initially is just doing it ad hoc. So when I have some time free, I'll jump on. Night time is usually when I go for a run. But I can do it before the run. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. I'll send out an email as usual. Here in the 60. Here on the 60. It's going to be an ugly one if it is, but an AB equals CD pattern. The problem with this is if you're going to be looking for a conservative entry within this is just junk. All this huge amount of consolidation just here, you could see a rotation pattern in the wicks here, you could see one here in the wicks, here in the wicks as well, here in the wicks. So dropping down to the 60 is going to make it very difficult to look for that rotation pattern. I have just noticed something though. What you do have is in this level just here, you do have a psychological number 120, 100. So we could see a move higher, a pullback, a move higher. You could be aggressive on the 15 minute, you could see a double top just here, and that could be used as your entry. So this is one to certainly watch. There is countless areas here where we could see a rotation pattern. But at the same time we could see a move all the way back up for the last chance entry. So it's one we're just going to have to monitor that over the rest of the week. Vinco, sorry my English, no problem. Stuart, looks similar to the euro dollar daily last year. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? I like directional movements. They create flagpoles, they create breakout patterns, they create impulse legs which are great for head and shoulders, and you would have thought that the last 2 or 3 weeks would have been great for that type of trading for me, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't good for me. So let's go and take a look at the 15 though. See if there's anything on the lower time frame. Ooh. Well, if in fact we spoke about this earlier, I'm not too sure if Pete's in the room. You had a double top, you had a violation to the downside, you had a 26.18 entry, which was right here. We actually rallied up to the 786, and price then came down to this level. What we've now done, guys, is we've now double bottomed this way, so there wouldn't be a shorting opportunity for me here. I would simply have to now wait for price to go higher and look for another short. Take a look at the 5 range. I don't think there's going to be too much on it. No. Let me know if you got anything on the pound dollar, guys. If not, we'll crack on with another currency pair. I think what we'll do is take a look at TradingView and see if there's anything on the other currency pairs. We're starting to see, just for those of you that get the signals, we're starting to see price come down again on the dollar yen. That's good. Euro yen, we've only just entered that. I think that's just gone into profit. Okay, let's bring over TradingView and we'll take a look at it. TradingView is great for just whipping through some of the other currency pairs and looking at the trend, seeing if there's anything at market. Okay, Aussie dollar Swiss. I'm going to be flicking between the hourly and the 15-minute. So Aussie dollar Swiss, we're coming lower. Do we have a falling channel there, guys, on the Aussie Swiss? Okay, 1 second. Let me move that back. Let's take a look at the Aussie Swiss. There's our workings out. Those of you that took the euro pound trade last week, stopped us out by 2 pips, and then it did hit our targets for 77. And Sarah says, I was wondering, what is the difference in how often you look at your core currency pairs versus the other? Okay, so I've got 13 main currency pairs. I do 3 reviews, 3 full reviews, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening, and then I will browse through my currency pairs. But then what I'll do is I will just scan the other currency pairs. And to be honest, Sarah, the only things I'm looking for is decent trend continuation opportunities, so or clear trend continuation opportunities or breakout patterns. They're the only things I'm really looking for. But using TradingView, it doesn't take too long to whip through those currency pairs. Aussie dollar Swiss, let's just take a look at this. Okay, I don't have enough data loaded, but you can clearly see here, guys, move lower, pull back. We had a move lower, and now we're pulling back lower again. Okay, so here on the 240 we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, and then a pullback, and we pulled right back up into our outside return just here. We held it and we're now coming lower. Did this area though offer a rotation pattern? No, it did not, and it also violated on the 60. So nothing there. Let's go and take a look at the 15, and this may not be valid, but we'll take a look. So we've got a swing in the market, we've got a directional pole, and if we draw out the channel based on the closes of the candles, is it valid? Well, we actually can draw the bottom out first, like that, on the closes of the candles, and redo the top. Yeah, this is valid, guys. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The reason why it came to my attention was because this looks like this is going to be a retest and this could be the breakout. We do need the RSI confirmation. So on the first test, which is just here, we need to be oversold and we must have bullish divergence. So you can see, guys, we're making lower lows, but on the RSI we're making higher highs. Here, here, here. So everything right here is adding up. Does it come into structure? They're the wicks. That's what we've come into. Yeah, and this is a valid falling channel. Does anybody know where we take targets on these trades? I'm just going to catch up with the chat. Vinco, head and shoulders in structure 240. I don't think it was Vinco. I didn't have enough data loaded. I see what you're looking at. You're looking at this, aren't you? We had a move lower, a pullback, and a move lower. The problem here is, again, this structure level has been held. So you did not get an initial structure high. And what we've then done is we've actually violated this level of structure right here. So if this was going to be a head and shoulders for me, I would have either needed an initial structure high here, so it indicates we're going to see a rotation bullish, or I would have needed the left shoulder to hold. And okay, well, we technically do not have a break below, close below, because of the wicks, if you can see them just there. Because of the wicks, we've technically not violated that level, but you can see we are pushing lower. So it's not going to be a head and shoulders for me. Well, it's not going to be one I can trade. But if it is for you, then you could use that falling channel as an entry. Sarah says retest of the pole. The next resistance level for the 127 fib extension. Stuart says, says green candle. Okay, let's go back to the 15. So it's the start of the end of the pole just here. That's where targets are. So what you could wait for is simply wait for a structure hold just here. Because this is a retest, I would treat it like a double bottom, and you could have your stop in ATR below the low. ATR is only 5, so I'd give it a couple of extra pips, to be honest with you. And then targets a retest up here. So look at that. It's only 10 pips. What a shame. 10 for 13. And the Aussie Swiss, Aussie dollar Swiss as well, will have like a 2.5 pip spread. So not going to be an opportunity for me, but this type of movement, we haven't seen it really in the last few months, the last few trades we've taken. But if you look at the educational material, I do talk about when we have channels, look for the retest before the breakout. This is, for me, the retest before the breakout. So high probability here of going up to hit targets, but it's not going to be one I can take, I'm afraid. What a shame. Didn't realise the ATR was so low on that. Let's take a look at something else. And again, if you have anything that you want me to take a look at, just let me know. Aussie yen, look at the hourly first. so easy trading view. You can just scan through these so quickly. Nothing on the Aussie yen, Aussie New Zealand. Just look at the hourly. Looks like we do have a head and shoulders there, but it wasn't valid for me. Let's take a closer look at it. Aussie dollar, New Zealand. It didn't really come into a structure level that I would be interested in. Okay, so price came down into our structure level just here. You can see it held, and probably as a result of the news a few days ago, we saw a massive spike. Over the course of a couple of days, it moved 226 pips. Now, I would need the head and shoulders to come up into this level. It hasn't, so let's drop down a time frame. And so as you can see here, we just failed to go up to that structure level, and we can see it clear on the 60. So while this does look like a head and shoulders, the move higher, the pullback, the move higher, the pullback, the move higher, and then the violation. Because we did not come into structure, this is not going to be a head and shoulders for me. So it looks like one, but it isn't going to be valid for me. Let's take a look at something else. See if there's anything juicy. CAD yen. Look at the hourly. I don't like this type of movement. This is just consolidation for me. Look at the 15. Nope. Swiss yen. Let's look at the hourly. Nothing. Look at the 15. No, nothing again. Euro CAD, let's look at the hourly. 15. See, there was a ABCD pattern just there from the look of it. And I've forgotten how you duplicate now in, oh there we go, is it clone? There we go. It's been so long since I've used TradingView. AB equals CD pattern. It came into the top of our structure level, which was just here. And it doesn't look as though this provided any type of opportunity to get short. Let's just take a look at the 5. Nope, no opportunity to get short. So let's take a look at the Euro Swissy. Euro Swissy moving lower, but there's no type of trend continuation opportunity for me there. Euro pound, well, we know that thing's still going higher. Pound CAD. I did post a trade idea this morning in the chat for pound CAD, and it won, I think, for 35 pips, something like that. Nothing and nothing. New Zealand CAD, let's take a look at that. Vinco says on Aussie dollar New Zealand, is the cipher on 240 valid? Let's take a quick look. Aussie dollar New Zealand. Aussie dollar New Zealand. Is the cipher valid? Vinco, are you looking at something like this? X to A to B, B to C, CD completion. Are you looking at something like that? It is not going to be valid for me. There is no clear leg. See this? This is all over the place. This is just consolidation for me. It's not going to be a pattern. I like to see usually a swing in the market with a fairly directional impulse leg. So for me, it's not going to be a valid opportunity. The thing with these advanced patterns is it really comes down to what you perceive as a valid pattern and what you've tested, because what's valid for me may not be valid for you and vice versa. So if you're certainly trading these breakout patterns, I would do a lot of testing on them. But cipher patterns are very profitable, but I can only trade those patterns on currency pairs I've actually back tested. The reason for that is because they're fibs based. They are fibs based patterns, they are not structure based. So whereas structure can be applied to any time frame and to any currency pair, cipher patterns go off Fibonacci ratios, and so you need to test them, and I haven't tested them on the Aussie dollar New Zealand, so I don't know if they're profitable. So let's carry on with our flicking through these currency pairs. New Zealand CAD. I think on the New Zealand CAD, guys, we looked at an alternate flag pattern and it looks as though it's on its way down to targets, but never gave us an entry. So we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, a pullback, and a move lower. Drop down to the 240. And what we saw is a very well, an elephant candle, basically just one big bearish candle. And in the educational material I said that these alternate flags typically are just one candle, sometimes two or three, but generally just one candle. And what you're looking for, and just before I go to the 60, is if I go ahead here and highlight all the wicks in this area and you drop down to the 60, you're looking for the retracement to be pretty much all one candle, all the same color candle, sorry, and you're then waiting for the breakout. Now we did break out, as you can see. Did we pull back for a valid retest? And look at that, guys, we did, right there, a valid retest. These have around a 80% chance of going on to win, and they don't happen that often. You play for a retest of the closes just down here. You don't play for any type of extension. They don't happen very often, that's the problem. But yeah, this is one of my alternate flag patterns. You have to wait for the breakout, and the majority of the time we come back up for a retest. Now this is quite a big retest here. Usually it's a lot closer, like a double top. How many pips are in that? 100. Yep. So not many of those patterns occur, but high probability of going down to hit targets. That. Let's finish off these currency pairs. New Zealand Swissy. Nothing. Nothing. New Zealand CAD, dollar Swiss. Let's go to the 60 on the dollar Swiss. Okay, the dollar Swiss is a potential breakout. We'll take a look at this one, guys. We'll make this the last one. If you do have any currency pairs you want me to look at again, just let me know. But I was looking for a short on this trade, but I'll tell you why I was and why I wasn't at the same time. So price was down in this area. You can see we've already come down to test it once. We're coming down for a second time. This is an indication to me we're going to break out to the downside. Okay, if this structure level was going to hold, we would have seen a move to the upside by now. So even though there's no confirmation we're going to break to the downside, I do believe price is going to come down to this lower level now. And as we drop down to the 240, this is what I was looking at. So we had a very big pole like this, and we had a triangle. 1, 2, 3, and that was the fourth. Now the problem for me is that this occurred at a psychological number, 9700, and I can't take them at psychological numbers. But if I throw a fib on from our swing low to our swing high, and we look for that 127, then you can see that 127 comes nowhere near where I think price is going to come down to, which is down to this lower level. So I did post this in the chat this morning. What I was waiting for was a confirmed break below, close below, and I thought we were going to get it with this candle, and it sucked back. And what it means now is that we're not going to have a confirmed break below, close below until we violate that level. But if we do get that, I am going to be waiting for a pullback and a chance to get short, because even though I can't take these at psychological numbers, once we have the breakout and we violate a structure, we end up violating the psychological number as well. So that's confirmation that we could go lower. Let's just drop down to the 60. What I was looking at was something on the 5 range, being a little bit aggressive with the entry. And I'll just wait for this to load and I'll show it to you. And I've missed my entry. Damn. Move lower, pull back, move lower. Here is the outside return. Right here is the lower low, lower close. Stops would have been an ATR above the high, just there. And if you wanted to be aggressive, that was your entry, right there. So you could have then either played for conservative targets or just simply hold that for a complete retest of this lower level down here. But I've missed my entry. What was I doing? I think I had my tea. So yeah, I'm simply now going to be waiting for the breakout, a break below, close below, and another pullback. See if that happens. But just like the other breakout patterns, guys, if you miss your entry, don't worry, because just type it in the chat. What do we do when we start to break below these lows? It's called a breakout pattern for a reason. What do we tend to do? Do we move very directionally, or do we simply do a lot of this rubbish? You know, which one do we do? Directionally, or are we up and down for a long time? Stuart, look for a pullback. Yep. And when we have the breakout, they're called breakout patterns for a reason. We typically break out with force. Now, on the bigger time frame, we don't usually just see one candle. We may see a big candle, a pullback, a big candle, a pullback, and then another big candle. So it can offer lots and lots of opportunities to get involved. I've just shown you my entry, which I've missed. It's my wife's fault for cooking me tea. But I'll be monitoring this, and we'll look to see if we can get involved. I will say the majority of the times it does offer you an opportunity to get involved, and even if we can get 50 pips out of it, you know, it's 50 pips, even though we may have missed the main move, which might have been 100 or something. So any questions on the dollar Swissy? Apart from that, guys, I had nothing else. There will be another webinar tomorrow morning. I'm looking forward to this week. I am overdue to get out of my drawdown. There was, as I say, 3 winners on Friday, which I posted. 2 of them I posted into the chat. There was one this morning I posted into chat. Looks as though there's a change in the market. Looks as though some of my strategies are starting to turn around. So fingers crossed we can get the dollar yen. That'll be a nice 130, 140 pip winner. Maybe a couple of other trades, and we'll see if we can set ourselves up in good stead for the rest of the week. Apart from that, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go out for my run now. Take care.